Welcome to my World Review channel, Outlander Season 8. Episode 1 wastes no time dragging us back into the emotional chaos that defines the Fraser family's journey. As the camera fades in, we find Claire sitting in silence, the fire crackling beside her. She's older now, seasoned by years of pain, joy, war, and healing. But there's still a flicker of something fragile inside her. That flicker turns to fire when she opens a letter that arrived without explanation. The handwriting is neat but unfamiliar. No name, no return address, just 6 words that freeze her blood. She's alive. She remembers you both. Claire's hands tremble. She's read it 5 times and still can't believe it. It has to be a mistake, a cruel joke, a horrible twist of someone's imagination. But a voice deep inside her, one that's never fully gone quiet since that day in Paris, starts to whisper, "What if it's true?" She hides the letter at first, unsure of what to do. Jamie notices immediately. He always does when something's wrong, but Claire tells him it's nothing. Still, he watches her more closely, noticing the way she stares at the letter drawer or pauses when she hears footsteps outside. When he finally finds the note himself, Jamie's reaction is far more complicated. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't panic. He just grows quiet, the weight of their shared past pressing down like a storm cloud. They've both carried the grief of losing faith like a scar on their souls. Claire has buried it under layers of logic and medicine, Jamie under guilt and silence. And now this letter, this impossible hope, has brought it all rushing back. Jamie's first instinct is denial. It's not possible. He held Claire in his arms while she wept over the lifeless body of their firstborn. He remembers every second of that day, the pain, the helplessness, the rage at not being able to save them both. But as he studies the letter again, something stirs. A memory, a strange conversation years ago with Mother Hildegard. Something she said, so vague at the time, about how sometimes God intervenes in ways we may never understand. Claire can't let it go. She starts digging, visiting old trunks, rereading journals, searching through old letters from Paris and beyond. And then she finds something she missed all these years. A letter from Mother Hildegard that she'd never read fully, written during the weeks following Faith's supposed death. It references the girl and says, "She will have peace one way or another." Claire always assumed it was about herself. Now she's not so sure. They decide to go to Lallybrook. Jenny might remember something. Someone. A visitor. A nurse. Anything out of place. But when they arrive, Jenny meets them with tight lips and careful eyes. "Why now?" she asks. "Why open old wounds?" Jamie pushes her, and finally, Jenny cracks. She remembers a stranger who came to the estate not long after they returned from Paris. A woman asking questions. She claimed to be a midwife, but Jenny now thinks she was something more. She said nothing at the time. There was too much sorrow, too much else happening. But now, with this letter, Jenny wonders, did that woman take something with her? Or someone? Claire's heart races. There's more. There has to be more. Then a name appears. In an old parish ledger Jamie finds hidden away in the back room. Genevieve Beaufort, a child placed under the guardianship of a French noblewoman shortly after the date Faith was born. The timing matches, the place matches, but there are no adoption records, no birth certificate, nothing but a whisper of a name and a page that looks almost deliberately faded. The deeper Claire and Jamie dig, the more warning signs appear. People they speak to grow nervous. A priest in Paris refuses to speak at all. A midwife who once worked in the hospital where Faith was born vanishes after Claire reaches out. Lord John Grey, normally calm and composed, shows up at Fraser's Ridge without invitation, his face grave, his words careful. You need to stop looking, he says. Jamie stares him down. What do you know? John hesitates. His loyalty to Jamie is unshakable, but he's clearly torn. There are things better left buried. Claire steps forward, her voice steady. If our daughter is alive, no one is burying anything. John looks at them both, then nods, almost as if surrendering to the inevitable. Then understand this. If she's alive, it means someone went through great lengths to make you believe she wasn't. And people like that, they don't stop easily. But for Jamie and Claire, there's no turning back now. Faith isn't just a memory anymore. She's a question that needs an answer. And that answer, whatever it is, lies in the shadows of the past and the secrets that someone has fought for decades to keep hidden. The name Genevieve Beaufort becomes an obsession. Claire writes it down dozens of times, rolls it over her tongue, searches for it in every record she can find. But the name is like smoke, there one second, gone the next. No one they speak to in Scotland knows her. No one in France will talk about her. Even the few mentions they do find in old estate documents or orphanage ledgers seem too perfectly placed, too conveniently vague. It's as if someone carefully planted her into history, just enough to make her real, but not enough to ever truly be found. Jamie, now fully convinced there's something to this, calls on Fergus for help. Fergus still has contacts in France, people who deal in secrets and know how to find the things hidden from public eyes. Within days, Fergus sends back word, Genevieve Beaufort is real, or at least someone by that name exists. A young woman in her 20s, raised by a reclusive noble family in southern France, rarely seen in public, educated in private, and often described as unusually reserved. But then, something odd, something that makes Claire's breath catch, a sketch, a portrait drawn by an artist who once visited the Beaufort estate. Fergus sends it along with his letter. When Jamie opens the envelope and Claire unfolds the paper, their world stops. The resemblance is undeniable. The girl in the sketch has Claire's eyes, Bree's chin, Jamie's mouth. She's not an exact match, but the look, the Fraser in her, is unmistakable. Claire stares at the image in silence for nearly an hour. She doesn't cry. She doesn't scream. She just whispers one thing over and over again. It's her. It has to be her. But hope is a dangerous thing, and in Outlander, it never comes without a price. The very next morning, a warning arrives. Jamie finds it nailed to their stable door. No signature, no explanation. Just one sentence written in sharp, almost angry handwriting. Stop searching, or someone will die. Claire immediately wants to leave for France. She doesn't care about threats. She doesn't care about the risks. She could be our daughter, Jamie, she says, her voice trembling with urgency. How can we not go? Jamie agrees, but he also knows what this means. Someone doesn't want Genevieve to be found, which means they're getting close. Before they leave, they tell Bree. She listens in stunned silence as they explain everything. The letter, the name, the sketch, the warning. And when Claire shows her the drawing, Bree gasps. I've seen her, she says, or someone who looked just like her. Claire freezes. Where? Bree explains that years ago in Boston, she saw a girl at a museum, a girl who caught her eye because of how familiar she looked. She assumed it was coincidence, maybe even imagined it. But now, with this new information, she's certain. It wasn't imagination. She even remembers the way the girl looked at her, like she recognized Bree too. This revelation shifts everything. Genevieve isn't just hiding in France. She's been moving, traveled, maybe even watched them. But for what purpose? When Jamie and Claire finally reach France, things move quickly. Fergus arranges a safe house near the Beaufort estate, a quiet place on the outskirts of Toulouse. He warns them that the family is deeply private, protective of their reputation, and known for keeping unusual secrets. Some say they've been involved with political cover-ups, wartime affairs, even secret societies, but nothing has ever been proven. Claire and Jamie spend days trying to get closer. They pose as traveling scholars, try to ask the townsfolk nearby, but the name Beaufort causes shutters to close and mouths to go tight. No one wants to talk. And then one night, while walking through the village, Claire sees her. She's standing at a distance, in the shadows of a courtyard. Genevieve, she's real. Claire stops breathing. The girl looks over her shoulder just once, and Claire sees those eyes, her eyes. The girl turns and disappears into the alley. Claire tries to follow her, but Jamie stops her. "No," he says, "not yet. We need to know who's protecting her, because they're not alone." At first, it was subtle. A glimpse of the same stranger in two different towns, the same carriage parked a few streets over. Now, it's undeniable. Someone's watching them, always a few steps away, not attacking, not speaking, just observing. Then Fergus brings news. The Beaufort family isn't the real danger. It's who gave them the child. Fergus uncovers documents hidden in an old hospital record, sealed files from the Paris hospice where Claire gave birth. They show an anonymous sponsor had been paying the facility before Claire's labor even began. An elite figure with the authority to erase records and reassign identities. No name, just a symbol. An old noble seal tied to a family even older than the Frasers. Claire is stunned. Someone planned this before she even gave birth. But why? What did they want with her? The rain falls steadily as Claire and Jamie watch from a ridge above the Beaufort estate. The lush grounds and grand stone walls seem peaceful, but the stillness hides too many secrets. Somewhere inside that house is Genevieve, Faith, and if Claire is right, the truth about what happened years ago. But getting to her won't be easy. The estate is guarded, and no visitor gets past the iron gates without permission from the Beaufort family matriarch, Madame Odette Beaufort. Fergus warns them. Odette isn't just a rich widow. She's politically connected, dangerously well-informed, and deeply paranoid. People don't cross her and walk away untouched. But Claire has waited too long. She refuses to let fear win this time, not when her daughter is alive and breathing just a few miles away. Jamie crafts a plan. They'll pose as traveling physicians, offering Madame Odette their services in exchange for hospitality. It's risky, but Fergus manages to forge papers that make them appear legitimate. Within a day, their request is sent to the estate. Claire's heart pounds as they wait for a response, and then a letter arrives. Madame Odette invites them to dinner. The carriage ride to the estate feels like a journey into another world. The walls are thick with ivy, the air still and tense. Guards escort them through heavy gates and past manicured gardens. As they step inside the grand foyer, Claire can feel the history, cold, ancient, and cruel. It smells of old perfume and secrets. Madame Odette greets them in a grand hall, her presence as sharp as her words. She's elegant, but with eyes that never stop watching. Claire can feel the woman sizing her up, as if she knows exactly who they are, but is playing along out of boredom or curiosity. Dinner is formal, uncomfortable. Claire and Jamie answer questions carefully, pretending to be strangers to the estate. But Odette seems to enjoy the game. Her cryptic words, her loaded silences, it's clear she knows something. Halfway through the meal, a soft voice from the shadows changes everything. "I've seen her before," the voice says. Genevieve. She steps out from behind a pillar, her dress pale blue, her hair braided, her face calm but curious. Claire's fork slips from her hand. Jamie stiffens beside her, and for a moment the world stops spinning. It's her. There's no denying it now. Genevieve doesn't smile. She just studies Claire, as if trying to place a memory that won't come. Claire wants to scream, to run to her, to hold her, but she knows better. She's a stranger to this girl. Anything too sudden could ruin everything. "Forgive my daughter," Madame Odette says smoothly. She's terribly inquisitive. Claire barely hears the rest of the dinner. Her heart is pounding too loudly. When they leave the estate, she grips Jamie's hand until her knuckles turn white. "She doesn't know us," Claire whispers. "Not yet," Jamie replies, "but we'll make sure she does." That night, Claire can't sleep. She walks the grounds outside their inn, thinking about the moment Genevieve spoke. Her voice was soft, but there was something beneath it. A longing, a flicker of recognition. Claire believes it. Deep down, the girl knows something is missing. Fergus returns the next morning with disturbing news. He's uncovered part of the Beaufort family's secret. Genevieve wasn't legally adopted. There's no record of her birth, no formal documentation of her identity. Instead, Madame Odette claimed her as a ward, one delivered under mysterious circumstances during the French Revolution's aftermath. But here's the terrifying part: the timeline doesn't match. Genevieve was adopted decades before she should have even been born. Claire and Jamie are stunned. "How is that possible?" Claire asks. Fergus hesitates, then pulls a second document from his satchel. Because she didn't come through time the normal way. He shows them a page torn from an old journal, one that once belonged to a nun who worked in the Paris hospital where Claire gave birth. The entry reads, "A child born of light and fire, hidden before the mother awoke, taken by the priest with a stone around his neck." Claire's breath catches. A priest? With a stone? Jamie's eyes go wide. A traveler. A priest, possibly a time traveler, took Faith, passed her through time, placed her in a different century, raised her in a different story entirely. It wasn't just a kidnapping, it was a cover-up across centuries. Suddenly, all the pieces start to fall into place. Faith wasn't stolen to be hidden. She was moved, protected, placed for a reason. But what was the reason? Claire starts to ask questions no mother should have to ask. Did someone foresee her death? Did someone know Faith had to be taken to survive? Or was it something darker? Was someone using Faith for a purpose Claire can't yet understand? The next night, Claire receives a message, slipped under her door. No name, no mark,